Hi, welcome to Mitch's Rant Time, the show where I talk and you listen. As always, I do use some adult language. If you don't like four-letter words or vulgarity, please just don't watch. Anyway, let's continue on. So, the issue I want to talk about today is one I've seen go floating around a lot on social media. It's one I've seen a lot of people talk about in some of the different news organizations I like to go to, whether it's progressive or conservative or kind of neutral or libertarian or super fucking paleo conservative or hyper liberal, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I've always heard this issue come up. I've heard the Pope talk about it to a certain extent, um, or at least people say the Pope talk about it, and sometimes people say the Pope is a fucking antichrist. So who the fuck can you trust there? But it's a big issue. It's an issue that's used as a hot button issue. I'm waiting for the Republicans in their debates to talk about it. They're not going to. They kind of have, but they're going to skirt around it as always. Bernie Sanders talks about it a little bit, but I think even he just kind of skirts around it and doesn't give it the service it needs, and that is minimum wage. Now, as I've said before in videos before, I think economics, the budget, private sector, public sector, economic laws, the tax code, I think they're all issues that are very complex and can't just be boiled down to one or two fucking sentences. We do that too often. We decide to spend fucking 1 minute on it because, of course, in debate forums, you only given 1 or 2 minutes to fucking talk. But you never see people talk about it very much at all. You hardly ever see anybody do it. The very few people who I've seen in my lifetime, I haven't been alive very long, who have ever talked about it were Ross Perot, Ron Paul, and Bernie Sanders. All three have been ostracized for fucking giving it the lip service, at least some sort of lip service that it needs. I still don't think they've given it enough, any of them, but at least they give it some sort of attention, and it's obvious that either we don't like it or the establishment doesn't like it. But on with the fucking show. Minimum wage, particularly the proposed $15 minimum wage. That's something I want to talk about. Now, before I begin with the $15 minimum wage, I want to explain my view on minimum wage itself, how I view it, what I think of it as a value of, what its purposes are, and so on. So, minimum wage is something I don't hate. I'm not against it. A lot of people, whenever I express my views on the proposed hikes of minimum wage or anything like that, people think I hate minimum wage, and I don't. I see minimum wage for what I think it pretty much is. It's a safety net. It is a limit of you are not going to be paid below this. No matter how hard at times you are falling on, if you're working, you are not getting paid below this wage. And that is good because there are people out there who would fuck you over. We do have a greedy economic system. It's called capitalism. It is based on greed and consumption, which are pretty much greed and gluttony. Two of the seven deadly sins. I want to get all religious on you, but that's what it's based off of. It's based off of of taking and taking and taking and taking, and people in taking, they'll take advantage. They'll take everything. They'll take advantage. They'll take whatever of people who are maybe ignorant to their own value, ignorant to maybe good business dealings, or they don't have the negotiation skills yet. They haven't developed that. A lot of times you have 18, 19, 20-year olds who would be coming out of high school or coming out of college, or even older people maybe who have been in one job and they're coming out, and or maybe they're trying to get back into the workforce and they don't know, or parents who've taken time off to be with kids who are coming back and don't know. It's a protection. It's saying, hey, you are not going to be paid any lower than this when you're working. And that's good. We need something like that. It is a way to protect people, just like welfare, just like food stamps, just like Medicare, just like anything like that. It is a safety net, and that's good. We should protect the poor to a certain point. We should look after our own. We are a fucking community, by the way. But it's not a career wage. And there's a difference between wage and living wage. Living wage is impossible. There's no such thing as a living wage. A living wage is what you fucking make of it. You can be making $500 million a fucking year and it not be a living wage because you're fucking spending it like an idiot. A living wage doesn't negate any problems. A career wage would actually help. Now, what does a career wage mean? It's a wage in which you can have for a long time. It's a wage which any reasonable person would be able to do what the American dream, which, I mean, that means different things for a lot of people, but you would be able to raise a couple kids on, be able to financially get married, you'd be able to buy a home, own property, invest in businesses, or buy other investment properties like gold or silver or whatever. You, it's a wage that you can put back money on. You can get benefits off of, whether you're paying for them privately or getting them through a business, retire off of, stuff like that. That's what a career wage would be. That's not a living wage. A living wage is pretty much one you can survive on. And in all honesty, a thief has a living wage. They can survive on stealing. They don't even have a wage. So that that language is just because I mean the same thing too is a living wage would be what welfare is. That's what welfare is supposed to be. It's what food stamps literally are supposed to be. Section 8, Medicare are supposed to be ways to make sure that you still are living. You have a roof over your head, you have food in your belly, and you are medically taken care of when you get sick. That's what that is. That is living, literally surviving. That's not what minimum wage is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a protection. So that out of the way. Sorry, I just get really heated. I'm gonna be a little anecdotal because a lot of people who talk to me about this, they get anecdotal, and the thing I get annoyed with is they get anecdotal and they try to appeal to emotion, and you cannot do that with economics. You cannot do that at all. You try to appeal to emotion. That's what they're doing with this stupid defund Planned Parenthood bullshit, trying to appeal to emotion, which they're having a bogus concept based on a false action based on a fraud video. I mean, it's just a bunch of fucking lies, but that's what you get when you appeal to emotion. You can build lies. There's a quote that's been floating around that you can persuade a million men easier by appealing to their fear than by actually appealing to one and persuading one man by appealing to his logic, which is very true. You appeal to their emotions, you appeal to fear, to sadness, to despair, to happiness. You appeal to those and you get someone to do whatever you want. And that's what I think this very much is. It's an appeal to emotion. And both sides are using appeals to emotion. And I'm going to try to defund that, or not defund. Fuck, that thing's going on way too much. Debunk those arguments as well. And I'll be attacking both conservatives and progressives because they both, I think, have it wrong. So, going back to the whole point about it being a living wage, like I said, it's a safety net. There should be more things. Now, the anecdote. First part. I myself am a minimum wage worker. I work under 25 hours a week. I make $9 an hour, which in California is the state minimum wage. Federal minimum wage is $7.25. I'm a minimum wage worker. You know, the burger flipper, the retail rat, whatever the fuck you want to call them. Or us, whatever you want to say. That's what I am. I live the struggle that so many people try to talk about. I have to live at home. I have to be roommates with family. Um, it's a struggle. It's a struggle to pay bills. It's a struggle to keep up. It's a struggle to try to go to school. It's a trouble. You know, you're always worried whether your gas tank is going to make it to the next 2 weeks. Shit like that. It's not easy. I know. I fucking live it. But here's the thing. With all that aside, I know that raising it to an astronomical amount, doubling, over doubling, or we'll just say pretty much doubling, the federal minimum wage, increasing my state's minimum wage by 67% this year, and if it's done next year when it's $10 an hour, increasing it by fucking 50%, that's not going to make things easier for me. And here's the reason why. Minimum wage, no matter how high or low it is minimum wage. It is the bottom. It is the bottom rung. It is as far down as you can go without not being employed. And no matter how high you raise it, it doesn't change the fact that prices are going to raise. It doesn't change the fact that taxes exist. It doesn't change the fact that you still need every other commodity. You need every other necessity. It doesn't change the fact that labor is now more expensive. Just because you raise minimum wage doesn't mean that labor costs automatically disappear. So everything else is going to be more expensive. And everybody says, oh, well, they're going to raise the prices anyway. That's why we need to raise minimum wage. Okay, well, now you're kind of getting into the chicken and the egg debate. What came first, the chicken or the egg? And but a reverse of that is what's going to happen first? Well, they're raising it, so we need to raise. Well, of course, they're going to continue to raise and lower prices based on consumption. If we have less money in a lower economy, they're probably going to lower prices in certain areas and raise them in other areas. In places where it's really expensive, really difficult to get a rarer item, a less common item or good, they're going to raise the price because it is more sought after, but it's less common. Really common items that are not fucking bought are going to go down. But if they're still bought up and still used, the price is still going to go up. It's the basics of supply and demand. Everyone should learn this in high school, but that's the basics of that so far. That's kind of macroeconomics. But what I'm getting at too, and this is something that this is a second anecdote I want to kind of go over, is a lot of people I know who were very much for high taxes, benefits, like everyone being on welfare, everyone having government provided insurance and shit like that. Not healthcare, not government provided assistance for healthcare, not government funded checkups and emergency room visits, but insurance. Insurance. Not actually saying, okay, we're gonna pay anytime someone goes to an emergency room, we're paying for it. Or you get 3 emergency room visits a year. And if you don't pay for it, then it goes back into the general fund, that kind of a shit. Or it pays for someone else, then, but no, it's health insurance. They talk about all these different things, everyone having money and that. They've grown up. They've worked. They've worked jobs that are above minimum wage, but not quite so above the proposed minimum wage that they would be still in an advantage when that goes through. And they've learned that it's bullshit. They disagree. They used to be, oh, Mitch, you're just a crazy fucking conservative and you hate people working minimum wage. A lot of them make 12, 14, 16, 17, 18, 20 bucks an hour. And they all know, well, shit, minimum wage goes up. I'm fucked. I'm either going to be back at minimum wage, or I'm going to be making, instead of making double or triple minimum wage, I'll be making like maybe 25, 50% more. And that's the thing. That's what's important, is the percentages. Because what you've got to realize, cost of living is based on percentages. If, percentages and factors. If you have a paycheck and X percent goes to this and X percent goes to that, and X percent goes to rent, X percent goes to food, you then know how to live. You can't just be allotted $50 and you're good. You can't just say, well, I'm going to arbitrarily spend $50 on food no matter what. You can't live on that the entire time. You need to allot a specific amount of your paycheck. Now, the more you make, the bigger the gap you have between your wage and minimum wage. You can typically afford to allot less of your percentage to other things, because also the more you make, the more food you're going to buy. You're going to be saving up for food. You're more likely going to be going out to more often. You'll go out to eat, so you're gonna, it's gonna still be a percentage. The same with rent. If you're making, $3,000 a month after taxes, you're not going to be staying in a $500 a month apartment. More than likely, you're probably going to be living in a $1,000 a month or $1,500 a month house. You're going to be renting something that you actually like because you can afford it, because you feel that you've earned it, and that's the way it goes. It goes with that. It's based on fucking percentages, and that's the way we need to look at it. It's based on percentages, and when you raise minimum wage to double the fucking federal minimum wage, now everyone who is above that mark, or above whatever mark they have, which I think, like $9-10 an hour is the highest mark, the highest low mark, you're taking away the advantage and putting them back at the low rung. And I'm not trying to discredit anyone who makes minimum wage. Like I said, I make minimum wage too. I'm not trying to say I'm the low rung and I'm low. No, it's the economic low rung. I have to work my way up. I have to do that. That's something I've got to do. That's a goal for me. Going to school, It's a goal for me, working my ass off at work and showing that I'm good enough to earn a raise. I'm good enough to become management. I'm good enough to excel. I'm good enough to be given full time. That's what it is about. But when you continuously raise minimum wage, any advantage I gain is lost. Because on top of that, you're expecting everyone to either keep their prices where they are, which, let's just be liberal and say $10 an hour. Say it's $10 an hour. If I'm paying $10 for 1,000 items we'll just do it this way. We'll make it this way. If you're paying $1,000 a month for rent, and all of a sudden rent shoots up to $1,500 a month, are you going to be like, oh, I can afford that? That's fine. Are you going to complain? Are you going to ask for more money at work? Are you going to try to make an adjustment? Or are you just going to let it go? I don't mind if I take a loss. I like this house. I don't mind if I starve. I like this house. I don't mind if I end up losing my internet or my insurance or my car. I like this house. No. You adjust. You move. You downgrade, or you get roommates. You adjust. So you're telling me you think businesses are going to just keep prices where they are when you double or at least add 50%, at the minimum 50%, to what they have to pay, their output in labor. And that's if they keep labor the same. They may raise prices and lower labor. They may raise prices, fire a few people, start working tighter shifts. Now, here's the thing. What does that mean? That means for a minimum wage worker like me, I'll probably be working maybe 25 to 50% less. Instead of 20, 25 hours a week, it'll be 10, 15 hours a week. And instead of it being where I have, maybe 4 people on the shift, it'll be 3 or 2. So more work for me, working less, more stress for less. Because yeah, $15 an hour, when you think about it, if I am making, we'll just say I'm making $7.50 and I get bumped up to $15 an hour and I get cut back to 50% of my hours, I'm making the same as I was. But then again, I haven't changed, have I? And I'm getting taxed at a higher rate too. $15 an hour, you get taxed higher, even if my hours are cut. Or at the same point, I'm getting taxed at the same point because I'm making the same, but I've gone nowhere. This isn't a hypothetical. This is what fucking happens to people. This is what happened to a lot of people when the Affordable Care Act rolled out. This is what happened to a lot of people when minimum wage was raised before in California. It's just by $1. Imagine what it would be. And to go further, I ask a lot of people about other things. So you expect businesses to stay there. One, you expect businesses to keep prices. This is all businesses because every business is affected by minimum wage workers. Whether it's people working retail, people working at the counter, people working in the back cleaning, anyone. Every single business is affected in some way by minimum wage workers. So you're telling me that they're all just going to keep their prices. Then you're telling me not only that, but we raise it to $15 an hour, all the manufacturing, all of the fabricating, all of the industry, all of the packaging, the shipping, the movers, the box movers that make $12, $13, $14, $15, $16 an hour, when they all get bumped up to 15, do you think that they're not going to have to, because they're going to be charging, do you think that when they are going to keep their prices for wholesale, they're going to keep it at the price it is now? When they wholesale to Walmart, when they wholesale to Costco, when they wholesale to Target, or even a small franchise like, say, Big Five or Shields, do you think they're going to do that? Here's one thing, too. You think they're going to keep their businesses here, or do you think we're going to see them in Asia? You know, it's interesting, not to go all conspiracy theorist on you, but you notice we've been talking about $15 an hour. We've been talking about some, what was it, Trans-Pacific Partnership, working with Asian businesses that have lower minimum wage standards than us. Not to say it's conspiracy theory, but it's interesting. It's interesting. But we have that. Then we have the fact that you've just raised the wages of so many people between the gap. Because that's the thing. There's the gap. There's the gap between minimum wage and the current minimum wage and the proposed minimum wage. Everyone in that gap gets bumped up. You're bumping up a lot of people. You're bumping up people that were normal minimum. They were middle class, the lower end of middle class, entry level, whatever. Now they're minimum wage. And here's the thing: it's not that like, oh, I'm giving them a raise. They're still minimum wage. They're still going to be struggling because they're now, not to make it sound bad, they're brought down to that bottom rung, that bottom economic rung. They're brought down to the safety net. And that's going to really affect them. And now that you brought them down to the safety net, they're going to be struggling. And it's going to be hard for them. So what do you do? Continuously raise minimum wage? What do you do in 3 years when you got people who are bitching about the fact that they can't get a job for more than maybe $17 an hour? And they're struggling. Raise minimum wage to 20? And here's the biggest thing. Do you know who this will help the most? Maybe corporations like Walmart, Jack in the Box, Taco Bell, Costco. They have systems set up. They have a really brilliant but economic system. It's a way of keeping things going, keeping the bottom dollar, making the bottom line, which is they can afford to spend a little more on labor. And not only that, they're going to be able to. Do you think that mom and pop shops, local mom and pop shops, will be able to keep up $15 an hour when more than likely they're paying at most maybe $10, $12 an hour if they're in a city? Do you think they'll be able to keep up with $15 an hour? A big hike? No. They're going to have to raise their prices. They're going to have to adjust. Because it's not just like, oh, $75 a day. That's $75 a day. To a mom and pop shop, that's a lot of fucking money. $75 a day, 7 days a week, that's 5 times 7, what's that, 35? What's 5 times 5? Be $375 a week. $375 a week, multiply that by, let's say, 375, multiply that by 4, roughly. You've got about 1,500 a month. Multiply that by 12. I mean, that's a lot of money. You have to make all that up. See, here's the thing: I work minimum wage, but I did used to own my own business. Yeah, that business isn't here anymore. It's a bad time to go into business. I was young, but I learned about all that. Not an expert, but I got to see how that side works. So you're expecting all these mom and pop shops to continue, which you might have a couple mom and pop shops that are literally just mom and pop if they can keep up, but that's it. They might be able to get by, but they still got to still going to have to deal with the fact that a lot of other businesses, a lot of other things like their wholesale, the products that they buy to sell, they're going to have to raise the prices on that because the prices were raised. They're not going to be able to sell it without doing a loss. And really, you think they can maintain a business by selling at a negative value? No. So then everyone's going to have to go to buy everything at these mega corporations. Everyone's going to be employed at mega corporations. Everyone's going to be begging for jobs at mega corporations. What do? Do you have incentives? Incentives for businesses not to raise prices? Tax incentives, maybe? Do you have incentives for businesses not to lower their labor hours, to try and keep it the same, not to cut people? Do you have incentives for businesses not to, go offshore and outsource? Do you have incentives for businesses to offer better benefit programs, to offer wages? Any business that was offering a above minimum wage but below the current minimum wage, or not significantly above the or below the new, or not considerably above the new minimum wage, do you have incentives for them to raise the prices? Do you realize how many people are going to be raising to adjust for such a large increase? Because again, it's about percentages. It's about fucking percentages and factors. If you're making X amount more, you're making X times more, then you're good. But everybody making minimum wage doesn't change the fact that it's minimum wage. Now, I brought up a couple solutions. I brought up a couple ideas. And again, I'm bringing up the questions about what's going on. But I'm talking about this a lot, and this is a big fucking video. So I'm going to be cutting this in half. If you want to hear more, tune in for part 2. It's coming up probably soon. So yeah, that's been this half of me talking about minimum wage. Sorry I've been talking a lot. I'm just really fucking pissed off about it. But I'm going to cut this off here, and I'm going to continue talking in a moment. I'm going to try to give you guys my ideas for solutions and ask a few more questions. I really want people to actually talk to me about this. So be back in a moment. Stay cool, you guys.